All right. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze Arc. As I said in my previous season 1 video, I got into this and stuff, and I watched the whole season 1, and I saw this in theaters. However, because of, I think, timing, and that was the best showtime really for my schedule, I watched the show dubbed, and I watched this movie subbed, which was a weird experience. But I was fine with all the voices, so it's like, whatever. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. This is a really fantastic movie and a really good, let's make a movie of an arc, or at least the way they communicated the story. I don't know the arc at all. Sorry. I didn't read the manga whatsoever. I don't know the manga. But is that in this, it's basically just like Denji's relationship with this girl, Reze, and how that completely falls the fuck apart. And it works as such a perfect like movie narrative. It feels so natural. Like it almost feels like you could watch this and not know like anything about Chainsaw Man and just get into it, because it's really just about him falling in love with this girl after he takes out Katana Man, and Makima like takes him out on this like movie date, which I was like, that seems like a really cool date to me. But that is one thing that happens if you like movies. You can end up watching like 4 movies and be like, I think I liked one of those. Which is, I was like, that's relatable. I was like, yeah, that actually, and then it's like, honestly, it's usually the smaller one, but not always. I don't love that idea, frankly. It's not always, but I thought that worked very well. I like that movie. They clearly, people make this like movies. But then when he kind of realized the Makima, like, it's neat, but like he kind of wants something different, and we know how horny Denji is and stuff. And he meets Reze and all that stuff, and she's like kind of the perfect manic pixie dream girl, and she almost feels like too perfect. And then when it like turns, you're like, oh shit! And like that shot of the plane going over her, it was like really epic, and I was like, this seems bad to me. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't seem good. And then when you find out she's the Bond Devil, all hell breaks loose. But one that I do think what this film did really well, it set up that relationship very well, so that when it just becomes constant fights, it like actually means something. Although I will say her changing her whole appearance sort of messes with that. But I do think like having that structure that, we're a slice of life anime, or just a slice of life story of 2 people falling in love, and when you find out it's not genuine, and that does feel heartbreaking. Even though I think you're like, at first you're like, is he kind of over his head in this? Even though he has the shark devil beam, which was like that. Some of the fights were just absolutely insane, but I think because it was really grounded in reality for a major portion of the movie, it feels like you have a whole emotional arc. He's betrayed, and then it's just like explosion, fight, explosion, typhoon devil, Denji's riding beam as a shark and holding the chain around beam, and like that. I was like, what the fuck is, I was just like, this is nuts. That's the one thing I will say I really like about this versus like Hollywood action sequences, is Hollywood's like always very staged and the camera doesn't move. Like this is like so fucking alive and so wonderful to watch. Like it's just like there's so much going on. I don't know. I do not know how people aren't falling in love with some of these action sequences. Like Hollywood should be so jealous of this, because it's just like there's the camera's moving, there's so many colors, the moves they're doing, what the Bomb Devil's doing, like how dynamic and kinetic and crazy it all is. Just like you just want to keep watching it. It's interesting, like when you just do straight action in that way, sometimes they can get really boring, and it did get a bit much at certain points. But like I didn't see myself going, because even if you're like, okay, this is like a lot, because it had it really had its soul, or the core or whatever, in the right place of like understanding the characters and the people and stuff, that without that, this movie would just be a bunch of nonsense. And it really wasn't. It's sort of both about, a cool action sequence with the Bomb Devil, and what's that mean for the Gun Devil, or Eternal Devil, or whatever. I'm not understanding why we call it 2 things, but like all that felt just really, all that stuff just like, was able to hang off of something, but just be incredibly exuberant in terms of its visual style, incredibly insane. And like, I don't know, it was hard to like really like not be watching it. You just get so wrapped up in it. I did really like, it was interesting Power not being in it at all. And it is more Denji focused than the show ever really was. Maybe the first couple episodes, but this is very Denji focused to a pretty extreme degree, which I actually kind of liked. I thought that was kind of nice to do that, but I thought it actually worked because when I'm watching season 1, I felt like, oh well, there's other characters, maybe it's not as interesting as the lead and stuff. And this, it very much knows how to play him, but keep him interesting and keep him funny. There's a lot of funny. See, like the part in the pool was funny, but it's also like that's a big part, I think, in any relationship. Although I know people are weird about sex things now, but like first time you do something, I would say sexual with your partner, it's a major point in that relationship. Not to be gross or something like that, but I really do think it is, and it plays it like it's important. So not just because he's a horny dork and stuff, but because it does represent something to him. But also, like, you kind of want it to work out for him, I think. And when you kind of realize like that she is a devil and stuff, a demon or whatever, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever with that. But you do sort of, I mean, it like it's running through there. He really wants this to work out, but he knows like he can't let that happen. And seeing what happens with Beam and all that stuff. And I was surprised how much I like this just as a movie. I thought like maybe I'm just like, this is this thing I'm into and this is the movie, and I understand this is the thing now where they take arcs of the manga and make it into a movie. But this didn't feel like a couple episodes of the show or 2 episodes of the show brought out. This felt like a movie and written as a movie, not as you just put some episodes on the big screen for money, which I know like, everything from animated Christian shows do now, but like this very much felt like a cinematic movie experience. I know people joke about the pure cinema, true cinema stuff, but this very much felt like that. Like I do think like seeing this just be about a guy who wanted this thing to work out with a girl, and instead she turns out to be, the bomb devil or whatever. It just really, it's heartbreaking, it's sad, but it's also like, what have you stepped into? Which can happen when you meet anybody, in a sense. I think the metaphor is sort of there, which I think kind of works about the movie. To have that in there, to have that kind of metaphor, like, you can go with someone, you can totally find out later they suck, and you're like, oh, you're in this thing and all that. But I also just think like the action and the animation, and like it's definitely one of the best animated movies of the year. And we've had a really good animation movie year in terms of releases in America and stuff, like between, this and K-pop and The Day the Earth Blew Up and stuff like that. I was just like Bad Guys 2, so many other, like I would put this on my top, I don't know, maybe it's one of the better movies of the year. And I'd say definitely one of the better animated movies of the year. Just like, just in terms of the animation, it's really beautiful. Look at it. I know it's like closer. It's definitely different from the show. And I know it was getting back to like the manga and stuff. I don't know like the whole deal with that. And I haven't really read the manga. In all fairness, I'm really just comparing this to the show. But I really quite liked how it told the story and what it was kind of saying, and like having this relationship at the core of it. But it did feel like it got really crazy. The whole Typhoon Devil thing was good. The score I didn't really talk about. The music in Chainsaw Man, but it's really, really fun. I don't know how to say anyone's name, but I like the music. I'll have his name down here. And the director of this as well, I thought did an amazing job. Like this is just really some really wonderful stuff. So I don't want to attempt to, but they don't need me to butcher their names. But I'll say the direction is really, really good. Some of the best action direction, bar none, I've seen this year. And the score was just really, really out there. And it just, one thing I think about the show and this whole property and this movie and stuff is that like it very much plays on like, this is a silly thing, we're killing demons and stuff. But let's like, and we have the reality to it, but let's like push it with the theme song and stuff and like really go for it. And really like how much, I really like that opening song at the beginning. I've had it like, what is it, Iris out? I have it on my Spotify. I really like that song a lot. I think it's called that. I forget. But it starts off as like this is ridiculous. This is crazy. But like, let's get into it. And it really does set you up and excite you. And it's like fun. It's fun to watch like this romantic arc fall the fuck apart and destroy a city. Like this, it's like there's a fun to it. And there's an exuberance to it. And it's like everyone was into it. It was a really great audience I saw it with. I don't know, like I haven't really seen. I saw like the original Ghost in the Shell in like a half-empty theater in the '90s, but this is like the I don't see a lot of empty theaters, but this was like it was fun. Everyone was like happy and like very nice. And I was by myself, so nobody talked to me, but like it had a very exuberant vibe to it. I don't know. This has been a nice arc for me going on this with Chainsaw Man. And I'm sad there's no more Chainsaw Man to watch. I was like, I can do this. There's not too much. And now I'm like, oh, it's over? When's season 2? When does... Come on, man. What the fuck? So, we'll see. I don't really know when that is. I didn't look it up, actually. But this is a very complete, solid film. Like, they didn't make a... as I used to say with a lot of the movies, it feels like what in comic books and mainstream comic books would be called an annual, where it's like, okay, sometimes you get a really good one. For the most part, it's just like an extended thing. You're like, okay, that was kind of neat. That's like a favorite. And this is like just a solid piece of media with the characters and very, I think, actually what I really do think was smart about it is it kept it about Denji and didn't go, oh, now we have to give everybody a little thing. Like, it cared about the story and what the story they were telling. And if you don't have the story at your core and you have a real perspective and an arc, and I think that's maybe why this worked with this one, and the arc that can work is like if you understand what your story is, and maybe you can have Aki and the Angel, show up in a few scenes and shit. But like, if you understand that throughout it and what you're trying to accomplish, and what you're trying to accomplish isn't just like, hey, we're the movie, here's a crazy thing. I mean, at first, it's usually like an insane tracking shot, which this didn't do because they saved that all for the action. I just went for it, and it was amazing to watch on the big screen. But like, I think if you're really trying to tell a story, and this obviously is based on a particular arc in the manga, that can work. And you have to know what you're actually trying to achieve with it. And I think like this said something about the character. It said something about the situation they're in, and it felt like sort of tragic in its own kind of unique tale. So I think that's kind of what worked for me. I thought this was a wonderful movie, and I think it kind of shows like what's cool about this story, but it like almost it didn't play like any of the episodes. It wasn't like we're getting the same thing again. It felt like an evolution of the character, but it also felt like something new to behold. And I think that and a new way to tell the story, something new to do with Denji that felt very honest to him and honest to, this story and Chainsaw Man and everything. And I think if you keep that honesty in what you're trying to accomplish while doing something new, there's almost anything you can accomplish if you're able to do it with sort of being true to yourself and true to the kind of story and true to, the anime that you're basing this movie on. It didn't feel like anything I'd seen before from it, but it felt very Chainsaw Man, and that's exactly kind of what you want, especially with Reze Arc. So if you've seen Chainsaw Man the movie, Reze Arc, and you'd like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.